Hey, Tim Jensen, we're Misfire, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Bring you guys a new episode of Richard Metalfan interviews calling from Zoom, and I'm here with one half of Misfire. We got Jim and Tim. So, how are you guys doing?
Doing good,
Doing
man.
And yeah,
nice
it
day.
is.
75 degrees, sunny.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a little bit warm here in Georgia where I'm at, Madden, but it's still like spring, and there's like pollen in the air, which is a nightmare.
Oh boy. Yeah, we actually went down to Georgia to record our new album. So,
Oh, really?
uh,
That's
like,
awesome.
yep.
Yeah, but it's great to be able to have you guys on. So, kind of what I want to talk about is, of course, like a little bit of the history of the band, as well as I want to talk about the new album. But take me back to when you guys were young. So, kind of growing up, what were like the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to play your respective instruments? So, who wants to go first?
Tim, go ahead.
Uh, well, the first music I remember hearing in my life was the Beatles, but that's when I was a little kid. But when you're talking heavy metal and all that stuff, I really got on, with that stuff around the age of maybe like 11 or 12. Got into Metallica hard, and then eventually, discovered Metallica and Pantera and all that. And I still hold those guys to the best standard. That's the best to me. I get a lot of influence from those bands still to this day.
All right.
Yeah. First band that got me into like the metal world was Metallica, then Megadeth, then Slayer, then Pantera, and so forth. I was about 11 years old when I started playing drums, and I was like 13 or so when I discovered Metallica. And at the same time, I started like fiddling with guitar and stuff too. I didn't take it too seriously back then, but that's how I started. Just old school Metallica, Megadeth, you know, the good stuff.
Cool. And so, were any of you guys in bands before starting at Misfire? Or was this band like y'all's first band?
Nope, I was in a band called Diamond Plate before this. That is my only other band I've ever really been in. Was a good friend growing up, and he actually was in a band with our previous lead singer in this band, Jay. That band was Atomize, and you were in a couple other bands too, right, Tim?
Yeah, man, I've played in like five or six bands, for the most part metal, but I did a classic hard rock type of band at one point and did a punk themed band as well. But
I got it.
yeah, I love everything, man.
Cool. And then now we have Dan joining us. So now it's like three-quarters of y'all.
All right.
All right, guessing more than the merrier here. So just gotta wait for good old Dan to show up.
Yeah, I'm here. I can't figure out how to get the
It's just a fun time like that.
it's
That's
just gonna be
hilarious.
my face. It's just
There
me.
should be like a camera thing, a thing that has like the video camera.
Yeah, it's on the bottom.
Let me see here. Did this work? Can you see
Let's
me now?
I actually kind of like that. You should roll with it.
roll it.
Yeah,
It's just
because I thought
bottom.
there was gonna be two, but now there's three.
Well,
No,
good
this
week
is a
of
picture of me.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, it's still true. It's fine. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So
It's just me pointing.
kind of giving a little recap, Dan. So I was asking like the others, like what got you into metal and what made you want to play your respective instruments.
Kind of a funny story with me. It's actually the TV show Metalocalypse that got me
Ooh,
into metal.
love that show.
I was not really like allowed to listen to like heavier stuff growing up, so I would just stay up late and watch like Family Guy and stuff on Adult Swim. And then this show comes on, I'm like, this is what death metal is? I'm like, oh, I love this. So that's what got me into doing like low vocals because I wanted to mimic everything that like Nathan Explosion was talking. And eventually my friends were like, if you like the TV band, there's like a lot of bands like this.
Yep.
So I got just more and more into music. And when my mom finally learned that I was getting into heavy stuff, she's like, let me show you the 80s stuff. She got me into like Wasp and Merciful Fate and Iron Maiden and all like the good stuff. So I kind of did a reverse thing that people usually do. They usually start out with like the lighter stuff and go heavy. I ended up just seeing what death metal was.
Hmm. Nice. And I guessing for you, Dan, like what was the or were you in any bands before joining up with the Misfire guys? I know you're sort of like the new guy, but I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, the only like one that we ever did anything with was called Depremacy. We got two albums out with that a long, long ago. around 10 so years. I usually used to play with both these two guys' bands back in the day. I played with Diamond Plate a lot, and I played with Atomize a lot,
Oh,
which is
nice. Nice.
Jim and
And
Tim's bands, respectively.
totally. And I'm guessing for you, Jim, like tell me about like starting up Misfire because I believe the band formed in 2018. So how did the idea of Misfire come to be?
Well, the original guitar player, Tommy, was a friend of mine, and him and his dad suggested that I get back into playing the drums and write some songs because I'm a big fan of this type of music, and I wasn't doing anything. So we started the band. After about a year, Tommy decided that it wasn't for him. So our guitar player at the time, Jay, started doing all the guitar and all the vocals. Um, and unfortunately, you know, he didn't realize what he was signing up for with this band, and it didn't work out. So we had to find a new singer, guitar player.
Dealing with them.
So um, there's some noise going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
get people to leave me alone. I'm going back outside.
So yeah, so yeah, we kind of had to reform after we realized that certain people weren't up to speed with what was going on. So it was a bit of a struggle, getting this thing going. Like we had first record out, we had everything ready to go, and certain people weren't ready for it. So
And that was the self-titled EP.
yeah, it was kind of a challenge keeping this thing together, but luckily we found the right people now. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that first EP is great, right? Especially songs like Lose Your Shit, Red Flag. Like it's just very just aggressive from start to finish. Where was that recorded at?
the first EP,
Yeah.
that was recorded with a guy Vince Rose, and where's he out? Somewhere like 30 minutes from where we are in Joliet. I think it was Peatone, Illinois. He has like a farm out there that he turned into a studio, and yeah, that was a great time. And that was
Hey, I'm
that
here.
lit the fire for me to get this thing moving.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
Ooh,
Dan.
There we go.
Yeah, figured it out.
There you go.
I'm in my
Yeah,
car.
but in those songs initially was yeah, I was super inspired to be writing music again, and it was a good time, and without that record, or without that experience with that EP, I mean, I don't know if I would have kept going. I'm really grateful to have had Tommy in the band the amount of time that we had, that kind of started this thing off.
Yeah. And then going into 2020, you did the No Privacy EP. Tell me about that. I thought that was a kind of a step up from the self-titled.
Totally. Yeah, that was recorded at the same spot. And that was without Tommy, and that's when JR moved over to vocals and guitar. And that was I agree, definitely a step up. Definitely more aggressive, a little bit more progressive also. And there's actually two songs from that EP that are on this new album, but we kind of reworked them. Those songs are Privacy and Born to Die. Each song features a new solo section and a new middle section. Outside of that, they're generally the same.
Yeah. And I loved like on that EP, on No Privacy, you did a cover of Sepultura's Arise. So what made you decide to cover that song in particular?
Well, that's a song that Jay and myself have been playing together since we were, I want to say like 15, 14 years old. Because I met him when we were in the 7th grade, and we started the band I was in previously, Diamond Plate. And Arise was one of the songs that were like, it's like pretty fast and super aggressive, but it's really not that hard to play. So let's just get super tight at it, and we can throw that one out. So, even a couple of years ago when we recorded that, we it was easy for us to just pull that one out. Love that song, love that band. Sepultura is the shit, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got to see them at the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise earlier this year, which will probably be my final time seeing them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How were they?
They were pretty great because I was kind of iffy on them because I know like a lot of fans, like including me, I just like preferred like the Max Cavalera era, but nothing against Derek. I think he's a great guy. But I will say when I saw them live, they actually are more energetic.
Totally.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I was like a fan of like their previous drummer Eloy Casagrande. I thought he's a sick drummer and now currently killing it with Slipknot.
yeah, he's one of the best in the world, absolute beast.
Hell yeah. Yeah, but then talking about like Sympathy for the Ignorant, which is the first full-length album. So what was the whole like writing and recording process like, being this was like the debut full-length Misfire album?
That was, funny enough. Our bass player at the time was getting more into audio engineering, which is now what he does full time. And he had bought a bunch of equipment, and we recorded those 10 songs, thinking it was going to be like a demo. Um, and I was talking to a buddy of mine from high school who's also doing great in audio engineering, and he's like, you know what? Let me. I got some free time. Let me get the tracks. I'll mix it for you guys. So you have something that sounds good. It turned
Yeah.
out like the way it does, like it sounds, and we're like, holy shit, this sounds really good. Put that out, and then that got us signed. But the recording process was pretty like pretty simple. We didn't use any click tracks on that record. Um, we like me and JR like played along together, but like there wasn't like any editing afterward. It was just like what we played. So it was essentially like a really good sounding demo. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it was. It was super super simple. Just do the drums, then do the guitar, then do the bass, and do the vocals. Send it off, and it's done.
Yeah. And then when the album first came out, did you sort of like touring outside of like Juliet and Chicago and stuff, or was it still just locally around like Illinois?
We were going to, but then unfortunately we had to part ways with JR, so we didn't end up doing anything until 2022 September, I believe, was the Warbringer tour.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and now we have like the new album coming out, so soon, product of the environment through MNRK Heavy Records. So what was the whole writing and recording process like for the new album?
It was a little bit different. Actually, the recording process was a lot of bit different. We did that whole process we did for the first record, and then we did it again in the studio. So we did an entire 2 months of pre-production once we had the songs written. Writing process, there was a few songs, like I said, that were on a previous EP. So we used those, and then the other 12 songs are just I mean, songs that I was working on from the beginning. There's a couple, and then there's a couple songs that came later. There's a song that Tim wrote acoustically. There's a song that Costa brought to the table that he pretty much had the whole thing written. Lyric wise, me, Dan, and Tim kind of tackle that together. So sometimes there'll be like Dan will have an idea for like AI, for example, and he'll take over most of it, or All Over the Place is a song that Tim had. But generally speaking, if we have a song that needs some lyrics, we'll come up with a topic, and then whoever wants to, whoever feels like they can speak on it, will take over, and then each of us will kind of fill in the gaps where needed. So the writing process was a little bit different, for sure, because of the nature of the entire band changing, and it's nice having other people in the band now that will contribute and want to actively contribute to the lyrics. That's definitely a big help.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And musically, did you want it to continue in the same vein as Sympathy for the Ignorant, or being as this like the second album, did you want to try something new or different this time around?
to be completely honest, I didn't think about it at all. I just the songs that are on this record, for the most part, are just songs that came naturally. I have a hard time, like, I mean, lyrically is one thing. You could say, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. Cool, let's talk about that. But musically, I just don't think like that. I play a riff, and I like the riff, and now we write a verse to that riff, and then we do a chorus based on something similar, and then do a breakdown or do a different part. And there's kind of like a template really set from the first record. So I kind of used the template arrangement wise, and in general from the first record, and kind of brought it over to some more progressive songs, and also, so I think we have a couple more just straightforward songs, like for example, like Red Flag was pretty straightforward on the first record. I think that's similar to how like Left for Dead is on this record, or we went through hell even. So I don't know. Musically, like I said, yeah, I don't really think about it like that. I just, just write whatever comes out, and then lyrically is where we have more of a mission statement, and then we go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you feel like any pressure to follow up Sympathy for the Ignorant? Because usually with any time a band does like a second album, there's always a worry of like having that kind of like sophomore kind of slump. Did you like feel any pressure at all making this album?
Uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, and there's a lot riding on it, of course. I'm sure the guys felt a lot of pressure being at it. Is this their first time, in this band on this label and all that. But with that pressure, there was a good amount of confidence I had because I don't know, I even in the demo form I knew what we had, and I think this album is something really special. And so having that in the back of my mind kind of canceled out the pressure, at least for me. I knew
Yeah.
this thing was going to be cool.
Yeah. And what would you say like the overall like theme and message is for Product of the Environment?
I've been talking a lot. Someone else can talk.
So it is like a song to song basis, sort of. I don't know if can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But a lot of it is like either real life experiences or real like our takes on society and just what exactly happens in the world nowadays through what we see it, and we're hoping that a lot of people can actually really relate to all of it.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's like just keep your eyes open. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and do your best not to waste your life like a lot of people do. Find something that you love and let it kill you.
Yeah, totally. And then talking about like the lyrics for you, Tim. Tim, do you need to be like in a certain mind frame in order to come up with lyrics, or do they just come like very naturally and organically?
Uh, I just try to I usually will write lyrics like I'll have a melody over something and I just try to fill in the blanks with that melody and try to make make sense out of it with words. So
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what I do. That's pretty cool because I'll write a bunch of, or Dan too, write a bunch of words and then have to just fit it into like, or come up with the melody that makes sense. Whereas Tim will have the melody already. Yeah, there's different ways to do it. There's
Yeah.
always different ways to do it.
Yeah. And I'm guessing for Dan as a bass player, because I know you've heard your fair share of bass player jokes and memes and stuff, but I feel like you find like a perfect balance. I feel like you find ways to link what Kosa is, so who's not here right now with the melody and what James does with the rhythm, but in a creative sense. But for you, so what's like your approach to slapping a bass?
A lot of it I like to do like more accentuate certain notes and stuff that the guitar does. Like when Costa's holding out things, I'll either do like the same note or do like the octave of it and just strum it a bunch. It's a lot of my bass playing influences from both Cliff Burton and Steve Harris. So if they're
Legends.
doing something when the guitar is doing something, I'd like to do a little bit of my own thing. On this record, I was playing it a little safe just because I didn't know what all I could really do necessarily. I mean, I have only been in the band for a year, so I'm trying to want to feel out the sound, feel out the tone, see what the vibe was going with everything, and I think it ended up working out really well.
Okay.
Yeah, you're like a blend of the guitar and the drums at the same time. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and I
That's
guess for you, James, as a drummer, because usually the drummer's job is to like keep like the tempo and the beat, otherwise it'll just be a mess. But as a drummer, do you usually need to hear riffs in order to lay down your parts, or do you usually have like a whole drum part written and then the rest of the band can write according to that?
The things I'm thinking about when I'm playing. Live, it's like I'm listening to the vocals to make sure that the vocals are being said in a way that makes sense. They can't be too fast. Can't be. Gotta slow down. All right. Well, now the vocals sound like this, and then you got to speed up the tempo, right? So that's one thing I'm thinking about. The guitar riff, absolutely got to think about that because that's where the crashes go. That's where the accents go. Like where the bass and the guitar is. That's where all that is. And then, yeah, I mean, of course, you want to add in a couple things for the drummers. So you got to add the double bass in there a couple times, or you got to do a cool fill or whatever. So, It's a lot to think about, I guess, being a drummer for sure. But those are the three things that in order for the part to be correct, I got to think about everyone else in the room. I got to think about how they're feeling and how their parts are gelling. Um, it's it's a cool position to be in. It could feel like a lot of pressure. It does feel like a lot of pressure sometimes. You got to figure out how to get out of your head with all that. But yeah, man, rock and roll.
Oh yeah, and of course this new album, of course, is the first of with the rest of the guys. So I'm guessing for you, Tim and Dan, how'd you end up joining the band?
I actually,
Uh,
here,
Go
you
ahead,
want to go
Dan.
first, Tim? Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, actually, you're the reason I joined this band, Tim. He mentioned when Sean ended up quitting for doing his audio engineering, that they needed a bass player, and he had known me for years and years, and I known Jim for about the same amount of time. We've known each other probably since like 2009, 2010, I want to say,
Yeah.
and both knew that I played bass, and I just didn't have any other band that I was doing right at the time, and I really liked the first album. I liked the message with it, and I'm like, I could be a good fit with this, with writing, with playing, with all the things like that.
Well,
And
you were
so I
right.
just started bothering Jim when I'd see him after shows at the Forge and stuff, and he started showing me the new stuff on his phone, and I dug that too. And I'm like, well, let's give it a shot.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, so I got into the band in 2022 when JR, the first guitar player and singer, he had to exit the band. Misfire had found a new guitar player to replace JR on guitar. Unfortunately, that guitar player has like no vocal, well, not no, but he's just not a singer. He can do backing vocals,
Your
but
ability, he can.
yeah, they needed a vocalist. They found the perfect guitar player to fill the slot, but they
He's got
needed a singer.
the perfect background yell.
Yeah,
Yeah, I called Tim. I was like, man, Tim and JR's like vocal style is like exactly the same because they used to be in like a band together and stuff. Let's call this guy to see if he wants to do it. Thrash metal like wasn't Tim's thing really for a while. He's more of a rock and roll kind of guy. But after playing these songs, he got real good at it, and yeah, and this lineup is I think is far superior to the previous. I think we're a much more dynamic band. We're capable of a lot more, and yeah, man.
And nice. And talking about like your live show, because have never not seen you guys live yet, but I can imagine like playing live is different than like recording thing. Is there kind of like a similar energy to like playing live versus like recording or ding or
Mm.
they're kind of like almost like completely separate from the two?
Uh, it's really hard to get out of your head sometimes when in both situations, because when you're playing for one person in the studio, it's like, oh man, like this is what's going to be there forever. I can't fuck this up, right? And then you're on stage and there's like 500 people. Oh shit, I can't fuck this up, right? Oh man, it's the same energy. It's definitely it definitely feels like more energy when you're playing a show because there's that circle of energy going on. People are giving it to you, you're giving it back, and that's not there in the studio. It's just kind of yourself and your thoughts. And I can't fuck this up, or I have to make sure I hit that part or that part. So I guess yeah, there's a difference for sure. You can practice all day in the studio as well, and fuck something up live every night. You know,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
totally different space.
Yeah, and of course now I guessing for Tim and Dan, because I know you if you're playing like some of the new songs live as well as like the old songs. When it comes to like playing like the old songs live, do you try to stick to how it was on the album, or do you try to add like your own little spin to the old songs?
I absolutely try to add my own flair on it. I thought the first record was great. Some very catchy stuff on there. It was just certain areas where I wish like maybe some screams were held out longer, or maybe the vocals weren't so fucking brutal. And in this part, maybe dial it back a little bit and
Brutal.
pronunciate it. I definitely try to. I know some complaints from the first record were that the vocals were a little hard to understand. So I definitely tried to pronunciate better, and yeah, I like the words to be heard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And what about for you,
Similar,
Dan?
a similar situation with me. I like playing. Well, I love the old songs too. That's what got me to want to be in this band. There's a little differences I do sometimes. I'll do like certain. It depends. I'll do like a slap bass, like quick part or something, just to like add a little flair. But since I'm now the other vocalist too, I do almost a completely different style than Sean and JR did. I'm more like I have mids that are like more Toxic Holocaust, and I do actually like death metal those sometimes. And that with Tim doing the whole out high screams like Chuck Schuldiner, it matches pretty well, and I can match the octave to make it sound really full.
Oh, cool.
So we do that a lot more with album 2 than on album 1.
But live, you're getting a taste of album 2 on the old songs. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice. And then I guess the last question I want to talk to you is like coming from like Illinois, because I know like Illinois has like a lot of great metal bands from like Broken Hope to Dirge within to even like freaking Disturbed or Vein. But I feel like Illinois has like a diverse kind of like metal scene. So was it the goal for Misfire to like get outside of like Joliet and Chicago and stuff and play in front of different audiences and stuff, or did you feel like comfortable as part of like the Illinois metal scene?
Oh, we want to take this thing everywhere, man. Like we love playing in Illinois, of course. You know, like you said, some really good bands came here. Growing up, a lot of bands around here feel that Chicago is a good area to be in because of bands like Disturbed. Like, look how big they are now. So let's stick it out in this scene. So we love being here and stuff. But man, dude, we've gone to California, we've gone to Texas, we've played New York City and stuff now, and it's different everywhere you go. And yeah, we love to play everywhere we can play.
Hey,
Yeah, we love where we come from. We love our home. We love the scene here. Appreciate the hell out of it. And we're gonna try to do that same type of thing everywhere. You know, just make friends in new places, play shows, and rock and roll.
nice. And so kind of also in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for Misfire? We know we got the new album coming out in May. There's just anything else in terms of like tours and stuff you want to plug if you're allowed to say, of course.
We're not allowed to say yet, but there's going to be some tours. There's something really cool that we're eyeing up to do in the fall. Probably late October, all of November, but we can't say anything about that yet. Hoping to do a lot of touring. Like I said, it's looking like next year we're going to hit Europe too, so that's going to be very exciting. We
Nice. And
none
have
of
you all
I,
been to Europe ever?
Jim has been to Europe, but the rest of the band has not.
Yeah, and what
Yeah,
countries
especially
are you looking
Costa.
forward to?
Uh, for this band in particular, Germany, it's gonna be awesome. I'm sure that's gonna go well with this new record. UK, there's always a bunch of places to play over there. I mean, Spain. I did a tour with the band Wasp. Like what I do for a career outside of this is lighting design, and I did a tour with the band Wasp, and we went to like 18 different countries, and it was a hell of a ride. But I think my favorite places probably were like the Netherlands, you know, for reasons. Uh,
Yeah.
the day we went to Germany was hilarious. The day we went to Germany was the day that Germany legalized marijuana. So that was like epic. Like,
Nice.
It was all for you, buddy.
yeah,
It was
man,
all for you.
I manifested that shit.
Yeah. But thank you guys for coming on. It is so great to be able to have pretty much almost the whole band on. It's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
Yes, come see us on the road with Havoc and Exodus. We're going to be hitting a bunch of places starting April 27th, ending sometime in May. Come see us there. If not, pay attention to where we're going to be, and we're going to be touring the next couple of years on this record. So, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. But so everybody, Misfire, and we'll see you next time.